You're watching Every Days and Saturdays, USMC veteran. Let's go, baby. And here's your host, Brian. Gosh, you'd think after fucking 3 seasons of this, I would know what I'm doing by now, but gosh dang it. There it is, folks. Third interview into it. I'm already screwing things up, just, right on par. Bink. What up? I hope everybody's having an amazing day, amazing year out there so far. I'm super excited for this next interview. But before we get into it, talk a little bit about some Cash Coffee. If you guys haven't or in the market for trying out some new coffee, go out there, get yourself some Cash Coffee. Smells so good. My gosh. This one's the Mean Gene, and I already busted through the Canine Cash, and let me tell you, I love it. And Cash Coffee, they're not just a great coffee company. They got great apparel. They got great nutritional items and stuff like that, and they're very much involved in helping their community out. This past Thanksgiving, I think they've fed over 1,000 different people, so there are amazing people. All right, let's not keep our next guest waiting any longer. I like to scroll on TikTok from time to time, especially, sit there taking a shit or something and your legs are going to sleep and flipping through TikTok. That's something I like to do. I know, don't lie. Some of you don't lie. I know some of you guys know exactly what I'm talking about. I found Super Patriot a long time ago. Been following him for a while. He's a United States Marine veteran, and he's just an awesome dude. His name is Brandan Mays. He got out as a staff sergeant, and here to talk all about his story is Brandan Mays himself. What's going on, brother? And if you guys also follow TikTok, go Semper Patriot on the TikTok side. I can't really talk right now. Too much coffee. I don't know. What up,
there
brother?
with you.
Yeah,
What's
man.
going on, Brian?
Hey, I'm glad to have you on, bro. And I've been following you for some time on TikTok, so it's kind of nice to actually sit there and get to have a conversation with you. But hey, man, let's get to know all about you. What made you decide to be a badass Marine? What did you end up doing in the Marine Corps? How long you served? And then, what transitioning looked like for you?
Well, to start with, believe it or not, I almost went Army first.
Wow.
Being
Yeah, we don't. Usually, no one says that part.
well, I'm being honest. I'm being
no,
honest.
that's good. That's good, bro. Well, that's good because that's important.
Well, because like for me, my grandfather and great grandfather, were both Army. Great grandfather was in World War II. Grandfather was in Vietnam, and when I was a kid, and I'm sure a lot of other vets kind of went down this road. As soon as we saw Top Gun, we were like, I want to do that, or I want to be in that kind of world. And then when I found out it was Navy and my dad was Navy, I was just like, I don't want to be on a ship. So I figured Army, and during my senior year, I was actually going through Marine Corps Junior Reserve Officer Training Corps, so JROTC, in high school, which was Marines, and it was a retired Master Gunnery Sergeant and a retired Major that ran that. And I excelled at it. Started out, as a private, cadet, just like anybody else, and at the end, I actually made cadet captain. So I was the XO of the JROTC in my high school. So got to, be in a position of leadership very early on, and kind of instilled in me the discipline and knowledge that it takes to, progress, through the ranks. Anyways, but when I was a kid, I was kind of just leaning more towards the Army, and out of respect for my grandfather and great grandfather. And Army recruiter came to the high school, wasn't really in the best shape, wasn't really as motivated, but he's just like, oh yeah, with your ROTC, I can get you contract E3 and 30,000 go artillery. I was like, being a dumb kid, I was like, fuck yeah, sign me up. And a couple weeks go by, and this guy's gaffing me off or just not responding to my calls. And my buddy, Anthony, was in the delayed entry program with the Marines and just told his recruiter that the Army recruiter was gaffing me off. And I'll never forget it. It was a Saturday morning, shows up at my front door in dress blues and says, "Hey, your buddy Anthony told me the Army's giving you a hard time. Do you want to take a couple minutes? Maybe I can help you make the right decision." And, it was the classic, recruiting, persona of a Marine, and, the willingness to actually show up on a Saturday just showed like his motivation and his
He
drive.
swooped you off your feet. Don't lie, bro.
No, he did. He did. It was all the blues. It was all the blues, and, I did the ASVAB, and he was just like, "Well, how soon do you want to leave?" And I'm like, as soon as I freaking graduate would be great. And, I didn't really care what MOS. I just, wanted to be a Marine. And he's like, "Well, if we can get you out in the next couple months, you're looking at 03 or 04 fields." And I knew 03 was infantry, and I knew 04. He was just like, "Oh, it's logistics." So I'm just like, okay, well, and no offense to any of the grunts out there, I didn't want to be a cop after I got out. It's kind of a statistic that most grunts become cops. So I figured, why not go into an MOS that I can, have a skill set that can also be applied to the civilian world. So I was like, I'll go logistics, and did that. Red Patcher 0481, which nowadays it's an 0441. They merged the 31 and 81 MOSs into one because they kind of realized that we both do the same thing. Long story short, the 31s would make the load plans, so they're the guys behind the computer, making manifests, and we're the ones actually out there putting stuff together and parking stuff where it needs to go.
In our world, it's like so we got 3043s and 3051s. The 43s are the admin side of supply. The 51s are the warehouse supply. Like, we were the guys out there fucking doing the grunt work and stuff.
Yeah.
While other guys would just be out there doing doing all the nomenclature stuff. And
yeah. So we are the ground pounders of logistics, or if we're not doing our job, we're pretty much fapped out to any other section for working parties. So we're the
the redheaded stepchildren, and you guys got the red patch and all, dude. So
exactly.
Yeah, I'm sure you guys felt that way.
We did. Oh, you got a red patch? Good. That means you're a bitch. Get in the truck.
Oh, man, that's awesome. So were you West Coast Marine, East Coast Marine when you
I was a West Coast, so graduated from good old Idaho potatoes up here in the Northwest. So west of the Mississippi. So I went to MCRD San Diego.
Nice. Yeah, same here.
Yep. So went to
what year was it when you what year did you join?
August of 2009. Okay. And I went to 3rd Recruit Training Battalion, Mike Company.
Nice. Okay.
When I first started out, and as far as like recruit training, it was very surreal. I mean, we all watch Full Metal Jacket, before going off to boot camp, and we're just picturing, Gunner Sergeant Hartman, Arlie Ermy, it's like, oh shit, that guy was pretty intense in that. I wonder how it's going to be down there. And I mean, honestly, for anybody that's thinking about going to boot camp, that's Hollywood. I mean, there are a few things that are accurate, but as far as the way it is now, it's not like how it was. How
you're not going to get the soap party. Don't worry.
No, no. But yeah, I mean, I will say it was an experience, and I was actually there for a little bit of a longer time because a lot of people don't realize that there are people that go to boot camp that get dropped due to medical issues and actually have to pick up with a different company or a platoon. So with me on training day 50, so I was already freaking over 2/3 of the way through it. I ended up getting cellulitis on my leg, and it was bad enough to where it got infected, and they had to freaking put me in a duty van down to Balboa Naval Hospital down there in San Diego, have it cut out, and I get dropped to MRP 1 for 3 weeks.
Damn.
So, and you want to talk about recruits that have it worse than me? Like I ran into a guy that was in there for already like 9 months because he didn't even make it to the footprints. You know what happened? When you first get to boot camp, they give their speech, welcome to MCRD San Diego, blah
He
blah
probably
blah.
got hurt running off the bus, huh?
He shattered his ankle running off the bus.
Oh, getting off
Rolled
the
it, rolled it, and shattered it. Had like rods and needles put in. It's like you didn't even make it to the footprints. Like, oh my god,
sad, dude.
So
damn.
Yeah, seeing that, he's just counting counting the days until he went home with a medical separation. But it's like I ran into guys that fell down the Reaper and literally broke their hip and their femur and all this other shit and walking with a permanent hobble. I was just like, God damn, okay. I don't have it as bad. I'm gonna hurry up and get better and get back to training. And
that had to be a depressing kind of time, dude, to see all these guys.
Dude,
and then these guys, I mean, they really had to want to be Marines to be stuck in that kind of a situation for that long, too.
Yeah, and it was definitely a different side of boot camp that a lot of people don't know about. It's kind of like the forgotten recruits. They
you hear
get
about like PCP, which is the physical. I forgot what the hell they call it, but we called it pork chop platoon. If you got sent there, it was because you couldn't run the mile or in a certain amount of time. You couldn't do the push-ups, couldn't do the sit-ups. So they send people there to get themselves where they can get themselves going. But dude, I mean, the MRP platoon though, some of them dudes were there for the one guy's 9 months, bro.
9 months.
That's horrible. He almost did
9 months.
A quarter of his 4 years just sitting in boot camp.
Yep. Yeah, and I was there for 3 extra weeks. Which
now, do they have like drill instructors inside there and shit? Or
they do. They do. So the drill instructors that get assigned to MRP are typically the guys on their way out of the drill field. Like they already did their 2 years of cycles. Because
gotcha.
Like you've had Jonas on here, and I'm sure he explained it. It's like it's not like you're always slaying recruits the whole time you're there. It's like maybe you might get lucky and get your easy year at the beginning or at the end or in the middle. A lot of them prefer it at the end so they can kind of adjust before heading back to the fleet and not being so go all the time. But a lot of them are drill instructors that are getting ready to go back to the fleet. So it's kind of hey, you're still a drill instructor. You're still taking care of these recruits. You're just not ITing them. You're more or less babysitting them, making sure they make it to their medical appointments, stuff like that. And keeping an eye on them, especially with their mental health, because there was some sad cats in there for sure.
Gosh, I can't even imagine. Now, did they still kind of not allow you guys to have contact with your family and all that stuff, or is that a little different?
It depends on your condition. Like that guy that was there for 9 months. So every family day for for recruits, he was allowed to see his family.
Okay.
He wasn't allowed to go to the Marine Corps side. Like remember you have your family day and you can go to Starbucks and Burger King and all that shit. No,
I didn't know that, but damn.
But he was
during my time.
but his family was allowed to come outside the squad bay and kind of like next to where the sand pit was at and able to see him and stuff. So it almost felt like like one of those conjugal visits in prison. It's just like Jesus Christ.
You get hugged for a second. Like, oh my gosh.
You have to go spend an hour in the yard with your mom and dad. Like,
but geez, I mean, that'd be really rough though if your parents lived in the East Coast. No, well, that's right. Never mind. They would be at Parris Island, but still, there's even if you're from Idaho, you said
Idaho, yeah.
Yeah, so even that's a distance, man. I mean, that's not just a quick drive for someone to make it up here. And I mean, the cost of flights ain't cheap either. So I imagine
No.
that dude went many times without seeing his family.
Oh
But
yeah,
gosh, what a rough
definitely.
dude. Yeah, you're right, bro. That is something that I don't think we do talk about very much. And we always talk
Well,
about the successful side of it, but there is that part where guys, not saying they're not successful, they just have a little bit of a longer path, or their path's way different than the guy who comes in day one and graduates when he's supposed to.
right. Yeah. And again, you know, I think, earning that EGA, it just makes it that much more, important and, worthwhile because I think a lot of people, yeah, they'll see the Marine Corps uniform, they'll see Marines, and they already know we're badasses, but they don't necessarily know what all it really takes, to push yourself physically and mentally
Mm-mm.
through all the bullshit games, through all the uh, light hazing, we'll call it, now and again. But it's an experience that less than 1% of our country can even, hope to experience and even earn. Uh, because I mean, our standards compared to everybody else are, at the top, unless you're going special ops or freaking SEALs or Green Beret and stuff like that. Like, Marine Corps boot camp is the hardest basic training. Period.
And and I think that's why we're so prideful of veterans. I think a lot of people get tired of us Marines because we're so prideful of our service. But man, you couldn't have even really said it better. Dude. It is one fucking hell of a commitment, and I'll never forget the day that I was on top of the getting my EGA at the Reaper and just sitting there crying like a bitch because I was
Uh-huh.
realizing all the things that it took me to get there. All the like I sprained my ankle really bad, bro, where I thought I was gonna get dropped back, but I fucking limped through it all because I was like, fuck that. I'm not going back, bro. I can't go back. Like you always hear those horror stories of the guys that get dropped and then they're with a whole nother fucking platoon and you gotta and that's the other part, bro, is you kind of boot camp's a weird fucking environment, right? You're with all these guys, you barely talk to them, but you guys are all pretty much in sync, and you always got that eyeballs locking each other, like, oh, he's getting fucked over there, like and you almost got that grin, but it's just crazy, man, how much you endure, dude. I mean, at the end of the day, and it's 12 fucking weeks long, and for the most part, that's the first time anybody's having any kind of inkling of being away from their family for an extended amount of time without even being able to talk to them. They gave us a fucking a little verbiage on the writing on the wall that we could call our parents. We had to say that and then
Yep.
fucking and hang up so the next recruit can and say their shit and be gone. But
Yep.
yeah, man, you couldn't have nailed it much better though with it is one hell of a commitment, bro. And I think that's why we have so much pride in what we earn. It's a title that and then fucking irks my ass when someone claims a title and they never earned it, right?
Oh yeah. Well, and see, that's another thing too. Like this whole not to get political and stuff, but during this last election when they were saying stolen valor on that Tim Walz guy, right? It I wouldn't necessarily call it stolen valor because there's two different things, or there's two valor deals. You got stolen valor, and then you have false valor. Okay.
It's when you lie about what you did. Like stolen valor
Exactly.
is when you're claiming that you're something that you didn't earn, right?
Yep.
But the other part is misrepresenting your time in service or
Right.
your deployments or whatever. I mean, there is people that will go out there and fib about that shit because they feel some kind of way like, oh, my whole unit deployed, I had to stay back, I can't tell anybody that part,
Yeah.
you know.
Well, and honestly, that's why whenever I go live, I have my shuttle box behind me. So it's like transparency right fucking there. I'm not gonna lie. It's like that's my resume for my 10 years right there. It's like I don't think there should be any reason to bullshit and lie about going places or earning awards that you didn't earn, because that is just a huge disrespect and disservice on people that did earn those awards, and the uniform itself. Like, you
And then
do
it
not
starts
do
to
that.
smear your actual, to me, just it smears, it overshadows something that you earned so fucking hard. You
Yep.
worked so hard to earn, and then you go and you want to overshadow that by kind of throwing out all this lie. Everybody in the military serves a purpose, and that, I think, I can't express enough, that everybody serves a purpose, whether you go to the forward deployment or you're in the back and the rear with the gear. You serve a purpose, and that's why it really pisses me off when veterans and people want to start throwing jabs at each other over, you know, deployment and non-deployment. And that's why fuckers start lying about shit, man. Is because
Yeah.
people sit there and bash them if they didn't do something. It's like, hey, man, relax. Everybody, our time comes and goes. There's people that when they go and they swear in, like when I joined the year 2000, bro, peacetime, nothing was going on. I didn't know my number was going to be called to be deployed. 3 years later, I had no
Yeah.
clue. And no one does when you accept. So, well, I mean, I'm not going to say no one does. A lot of the guys that joined after, when the shit hit the fan, there was always a possibility you're going to deploy, but I don't, yeah, it really bothers me that when people got a fib about what they did while they're in, even to the point of their MOSs, like, bro, be proud of what you were. We
Hmm.
need to, everybody needs to be proud of what they were, because they all had the great purpose and damn doing something.
Well, and not only that, it's not like we get to choose where we go or what unit we deploy with. It's based
No,
on the needs. It's based on the needs of the Marine Corps, number one, and where your MOS is needed for that specific mission. Period. We have no say in it.
you know how many pogues have been plucked right out of their job and got thrown in the front lines, dude, because they needed bodies. I
I
can
know.
tell you, I know several, bro. So, it's as Marines, we are all trained to be, riflemen at the end of the day, right? And we all know how to be basic riflemen and know how to do the basic shoot down range and, operate our weapons and all those kind of things. But um, there's a lot more to the tactical side of it, things for sure. But in where we're at, anybody can be thrown into any position at any time. You just never know. And like you said, we don't really choose, bro. I didn't know when the fucking orders came across. Out of all the guys in our unit, I'm like the first fucking guys to go, bro. I was like I'm the first wave. And I'm like, oh
Yeah.
shit, working party. This guy's gonna be working his ass off the entire time he's there, because guess who has to set up the shop, bro?
Yeah.
All of us. Everybody that got there early, it didn't matter what your job was, fool. You were up there fucking doing Cosentine wire, fucking digging, putting up fucking Haji tents, you know.
Oh yeah. Well, and like, and the thing is with the MOS that I was, 0481 Red Patchers. So like after boot camp and going through the schoolhouse and stuff, actually, learning a little bit about the history of it. The Red Patch didn't come about until World War II, because we kept getting mixed in with the infantry units, and our job was to primarily coordinate supplies coming and troop movement coming from the ships. So they gave us the red patches, and it was just originally on our covers, and it wasn't up until Vietnam era where they actually added it on our trousers near our knees, because the history behind it. Yes, we weren't necessarily infantry. We still went in with the first wave. Like, our motto is first in, last out, even for my MOS, and because our job is to coordinate everything going and coming from the ship, or coming and going from the ship. And a lot of times we would have to, be there with the grunts, establishing a beachhead, like, setting up firing positions to frickin' secure the area. So yeah, even though we're essentially pogues or non, infantry personnel, we still, put stuff out there
we
to
have almost like a
protect
double
ourselves.
duty though. You know what I mean? Like we not only we defend ourselves, but we fucking also have a whole other mission that we got to do that is very vital, right?
Yep.
Especially for you logistics guys, and you guys work hand in hand with us supply guys, right? So you
Yep.
guys are making our supply point where we can make sure we get these supplies to these guys, and you guys are making sure that they're getting it. And without any of this shit, man, um, we watched it, and even in 2003, we moved too fast, and they couldn't. The supply line could not keep up with them. These guys had to
Yep.
start living off of rations and things like that, and sparing water and rounds and everything because we couldn't keep up with with the supply.
Yep.
Supply demand.
But yeah, I mean, as far as my time in the fleet and going on deployments and stuff like that, so I didn't realize joining the O4 community, especially the O480 ones, how fast I actually picked up rank. And for a lot of you terminal lances out there, I'm sorry, but I picked up E5 sergeant in 3 years.
Gosh
That's
damn,
how
were you
fucking
Notorious?
fast.
Was it Notorious? Like, or just
No, no, no. So I went in
they had.
contract. So I went in contract PFC because of my ROTC that I had in high school.
Right. Oh yeah.
That
Okay.
that that was the only thing I had extra. But every time, like I did my PME, all the MCIs and bullshit, the courses, I
Yeah.
did all that, and literally, I think it was just because of the time I joined. I joined in 2009, so it was like right at the beginning. Excuse me, of like the drawdown. So when that started happening, a lot of people like, hey, if you're not picking up rank, or
Retention was probably really bad, probably around
it
that time
was,
frame, right? Because a lot of
it
guys
was,
were done being deployed and shit. They were just like, "Fuck this, I'm done."
yeah.
I
So
can imagine.
it, you're gonna laugh because so when I picked up as corporal, I deployed first time on the 11th MU. I was with CLB 11, Combat Logistics Battalion 11 over there on main side. Our first, our BLT unit was 3-1. So, wherever we went, or they went, we went. So, we were just in the rear with the gear, carrying their stuff when they needed it. But so I was a corporal for my first deployment. Got to see so many different places. They were both Westpacks. So, and for people that don't know what a Westpac is, it's basically a booze cruise. I'll be honest. It's going around, drinking beer, shooting guns,
It's
shaking
honestly, when
hands.
you're in there, every Marine wants to be on one. They're like,
Yeah,
"Oh, I'm you. I'll be." That's
yeah,
easy to
no,
get volunteers for that shit usually.
yeah. So, you know, our first stop was Cambodia, which was kind of a humanitarian operation. We just didn't get the ribbon for it, but they got hit by a typhoon. So, me being LS, after we got done with our job, getting everybody off the boat and accountability, we got attached to the combat engineers to go out to a couple local orphanages and schools to help rebuild, what got damaged, and do some cleanup of debris and stuff like that. And during that time, just backing up a little bit, I married my high school sweetheart, and we're actually still together, believe it or not. 15 years this March.
Wow,
We had our
nice. Congrats.
we had our first child shortly before I deployed, and this is where it's going to kind of take a downtone. He was born with spina bifida,
Mm.
and for a lot of people that don't know what that is, it's basically a deformity in the lower spine. Essentially, he was a C-section baby, being born at Balboa, and we see as soon as he comes out, it looks like a silver dollar size hole in his back, literally exposing the spinal column and the different nerve endings. And none of us knew about it, not even the doctors, even from the ultrasounds. But that's Navy medicine for you, I guess. So when it happened, they were just like, "Oh, that's spina bifida." my first initial thought was I thought the doctor cut my kid's back with a fucking scalpel as he was, getting him out. So I was getting ready to throw it down in there. Like I was pissed.
Did you actually see the hole yourself? Was it?
Yeah,
Damn.
I did. I actually have photos of it on my computer. That's where I keep them, just when I want to look back. But needless to say, being a new father, it was probably one of the scariest moments of my life because I was just a 20-year-old kid, having a
Yeah.
kid myself, and then let alone my kid having that condition. So needless to say, me and my wife grew up really fucking fast, and did all the research that we can to see how we can better care for him. He's 13 years old now, 8 surgeries later, because
Wow.
they had to close up his back. And another side effect with that is hydrocephalus, which is basically water on the brain. We all have fluids in our head that separates our brain from our skull. His body doesn't stop producing that, so it can cause brain swelling and seizures and eventually
Oh,
death. So they actually had to put in a shunt, literally just like a tube into his skull, and it drains out into his stomach. And he's already had one revision of that, and we'll get to that part. But getting back to Cambodia, I left for my first deployment when my son was 6 months old, and I almost didn't go on deployment because
were
that's a
you guys
lot
still
for.
trying to figure out a lot at that moment in time at 6 months? Or had they
Well,
kind of had
well,
figured
at
things out up to that point?
Well, at 6 months, he already had two surgeries. One was
Mm,
for his back and his shunt at that time. And then when he was about 2 years older, he actually got surgery on both of his ankles because he was born with club feet. So his toes were, just, how you make a fist with your hand. He was making a fist with his toes constantly. So they had to
wow,
go in there and literally work on the Achilles tendon and the different tendons in there to actually release it.
man,
But
dude's been through a
having
lot.
he has, and honestly, it's because of my son is the reason why I served as long as I did. Because
Mm,
when I initially joined, it was just, hey, 4 years,
gonna be 4.
I'm done.
Yeah,
Yeah, but with him being more with that condition, I made a promise to him that I would do everything I can, and try to stay in as long as I could. But yeah, like when we were in Cambodia, after we did the cleanup and stuff, these kids wanted to play with us, and we're just like, well, what do we want? How can we play with these kids? We're just like playing tag and stuff. We did like little shuttle runs, put them on our shoulder, like running from one end of the field and back. And the kids were having a blast. And I had a couple other buddies that became dads before we all deployed, so it was kind of like a preview of our future with our kids that we got to experience. And uh, our Navy media guy actually snapped a photo of it, and actually found it on one of the publication websites for the U.S. Navy. So it was kind of cool to see that moment captured, so I can look back on it and see something that we did, not just focusing on like combat or training, but it was like a real human moment, that connected us, even though we didn't speak the same language. It was just, us having fun with, these people after they've been through a tragedy, and letting them know that, you can still find joy after, something traumatic. So it was probably one of the best moments of my uh, MU deployment, the first go around. And that we went all over Indonesia, Philippines, Thailand. So going back to the happier side, yes, I know what the banana show is, and yes, I know what the ping pong show is. I've seen all that.
dang, man, you've lived it. That's damn, you've lived the Marine
I,
life.
I've seen all that. We're actually there when it was my birthday, and the assholes fucking got me to be a part of the show. So before you think of any,
Oh, dang,
before
bro. Did
before
you
you
let them
insinuate,
drop it
before
in
you
your mouth,
insinuate,
dude?
no. Before you insinuate what happened. So let's just say these women are very, very talented. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
they're very talented. and they can do things with their bodies that a lot of people don't know that you can do physically. Let's just say it involved a blow dart and a balloon, and I had the balloon in each hand and one in my mouth, and she got all three. So,
Dang.
let's just
Talent.
say it very talented, very talented. But we'll keep it PG, and we won't go any further than that. But after after my first deployment, coming back, seeing how much my kid has grown, it was hard being away, knowing that my wife had to go through a lot of that on her own. But at the same time, it just motivated me to you know do everything I could possible to you know keep moving forward, and stay out of trouble and get all my PME and stuff done. That was probably another reason why I picked up rank so fast, even with the cutting scores, just coming out. I'm not saying I was a model Marine, but or that I was a square and never did anything stupid, but I was focused on doing the best I could to provide for my family. So, and then
Yeah, it's a
it
little
came.
different, man, when you got family. That's why the Marine Corps tells you straight up, if we wanted you to have wife and kids, we would have issued you them, because that element is hard, bro. I mean, just like you ended up having to deploy. I mean, you had to leave your wife,
Yeah.
and right in the point in time where fucking you guys are trying to figure shit out, dude. New parents, you got a kid that has medical conditions. That's I mean that's fucking rough, bro. Like the average couple can't make it through some simplistic shit. Like military couples go through a lot, right? I mean, I'm sure any military spouse that stayed with their husband through the duration of their enlistment can attest to, you got to be a different kind of human being yourself to stick that shit out. Because in the Marine Corps, they could give a shit about your family in a sense. I'm not saying they don't care about them, but at the end of the day, the person they care about is the person who enlisted, the person that you know owes them something. You
Yeah.
know, so
Well, I'm sure we all have heard mission gear self.
yeah.
The mission always comes first, even though and it's funny, even here on the outside, they're always talking about family first, but honestly, it's never that. If you work, unless you are your own business owner, if you're as long as you're working for somebody, it's never going to be family first. That's something I realized since I've been out, and even when I was in. It's just the way the world is. But yeah, I mean, aside from my son, and kind of getting back to getting ready for my second deployment. Um, let's just say I definitely experienced a lot of good leaders and a lot of bad leaders, making it through the ranks. I will say one of the most butting head moments I ever had was with a staff sergeant that came off recruiting duty. That he's been out of the MOS for 3 years, but came in acting all shit hot like he knew everything, and basically had the mentality of like, if you don't have a rocker, you don't have an opinion. And like when we're doing the workups or even on
He probably
deployment,
picked up staff while he was fucking out of that
recruiting.
job too,
Yeah,
right? And so
well,
he
he's
comes
recruiting.
back now. He's a staff NCO.
Hmm.
Yeah, I know them type.
Yeah, yeah. So we get to Malaysia on our second pump, and we're and mind you, I re-enlisted and I opted to stay with CLB 11 to do another 11th MU deployment. I was like, yeah, this was good. I want to do it again. I will say the first go around was better because our command was better, but the second go around was not too great. And let's just say my fire and motivation kind of dropped on that because they were like I said, remember, I picked up sergeant in 3 years. I actually got to one point for at least a month when everybody in my platoon, aside from two people, were sergeants. We all got selected. Uh, and we had like 30 Marines in my platoon. So it was like a landing sergeant platoon. it like
Yes.
you couldn't get shit done because everybody's like, "Fuck you, I'm sergeant too." So it was
He's like, when did you enlist? What got you a time in fucking grade, bro? Like the time in
yeah,
service.
yeah,
Oh gosh, I can imagine what a shit show.
yeah. It was a shit show, but you know, after the second deployment, I got selected to do recruiting duty for the third time, mind you, because my fucking OICs always love to put, "Oh, he would be a great fit for recruiting duty. Send at earliest convenience." I'm like, you already are fucking me over by doing that on my fit rep, assholes. Anyways, so I got histed to go do recruiting duty, but um, after that second deployment, dude, my fire was dying, and I was just like, you know what? No, I don't want to do it. I told my monitor, no, I refuse RE3 Oscar. And my thought process was going to be like, hey, I got a little over a year left. I'm just going to stay here, help train up the kids for the next pump, and then I'll get out before they deploy. But then my monitor calls me, and he was, believe it or not, he actually found me on TikTok, and we follow each other. We actually talk now, but we didn't then. But
Courage
essentially,
hammers.
so essentially, he basically called and said, you're like the fifth Marine to say no to recruiting duty at me. I'm like, yeah. Well, you're not going to laugh at this. If you say no, you're getting the fuck out in 10 days. You're going to Okinawa because you can't refuse orders more than once. So I basically said, I master guns, and mind you, this is only 3 months after getting back from my second deployment, and I get sent to fucking Okinawa for a year unaccompanied. Pretty
Oh
much
no,
so pretty much one last fuck
your wife's
you.
gonna want to divorce you at this point.
Oh my god, I'm surprised she didn't. Honestly, she's a godsend. Like I said, come March it'll be 15 years, and honestly, with I like to think because of my son, it only made our relationship that much stronger because we both had to grow up that much faster, and actually realize what was important.
And you guys,
And
it's like basically like a trauma bonding type of experience too, man.
it really was. It really
Right?
was. And so I do my year out in Okinawa. But what's funny is during the monitor visit, he came and asked for me by name. And he's just like, "Hey, I see you're going to be selected for staff," and I'm like, "Well, I don't see how because I can't, re-enlist. I signed the R3 Oscar." And he checked. Apparently, so your command will submit an RE3 Oscar, page 11, to your OMPF, but it is on your monitor or headquarters Marine Corps to do their part to actually finalize it. He never finalized it. So then he's like, "Look, I know I fucked you over. I'm sorry." Turns out his kid has cerebral palsy, so we actually connected right there because he didn't really
Yeah.
know my story. He didn't really know my story, and I was just like, "This is why I made these decisions in my Marine Corps career." So, out of sympathy and also to make sure that he doesn't get his ass chewed for not doing his job, he's like, "Look, you can reenlist or extend. You're going to be a staff sergeant. I'm going to send you back to California." I was like, "All right." So I extended, which would put me right at 10 years at the time if I choose EAS or get out. And then they send me to MCAS Miramar, which was, I was like, holy shit, Top Gun, kind of reliving being a kid again. It was just like, oh, it's coming full circle. So I get there, and they send me to H&HS, which is headquarters and headquarters squadron, which I didn't know it at the time because I show up motivated, ready to go. I'm just like, fuck yeah, I'm a new staff sergeant. What do you got for me? Well, we're a non-deployable unit, and our main responsibility is the air show and funeral details. What?
Fuck.
So
That's a lot of time for some fuck games.
yeah, so basically, I lived in the gym for most of the time if I wasn't doing funeral detail or helping out with the air shows. But I'll tell you what, man. And whenever you mention funeral detail, and every time I'm on live, they always think of the body bearers in Quantico. Fun fact: every active reserve unit, like one of their primary responsibilities is actually doing funeral details for their respected area, and a lot of people don't know that. But since H&HS was a non-deployable unit, they had 4th MA there and 4th tanks, but 4th tanks isn't a thing anymore because we don't have tanks. But basically, they would split the year between those 3 units, but we got 8 months out of the year. So basically, they made me the staff NCOIC for the funeral detail, and let's just say the majority of them were, veteran, or they've been out for a while, World War II, Vietnam, Korea. So it's not, those aren't the ones that hit as hard, but I've had to do a good handful of active duty ones, especially like, the kids that love to ride their crotch rockets down freaking Coast Highway and fucking I-5 there and the 15. Had to do quite a few funerals for those guys. Uh, Gunner Sergeant Hawley was one of the last ones I did. He was in the 53 that went down over in Arizona back in 2018. And then the very first angel flight I ever did, or like receiving, where you actually get the casket off the plane, was for Sergeant Chad Jackson or Jensen, which is actually on YouTube. I'm on there too through Honoring Our Fallen. And I did that detail for 3 years, little over 300 funerals. The most I ever did in one day. The most I ever did in one day was 7.
Holy shit, bro!
So,
That had to be a little bit rough on you as well, man. Or I mean, that had to be different, a whole other experience of being around that somber moment.
The thing is, it's you're experiencing somebody's worst day, essentially, saying goodbye to their loved one. And, I'm not going to lie, I went through therapy and mental health and stuff, especially during my second year of doing it. They were like, "Oh, Mays, you're doing a good job. You're going to do it again." I'm like, "Can I get some fucking help here?" Like, whatever. It's like, "No, you got it." and see, that was the thing too. It's like H&HS, it's a twilight unit. It's literally where people are going to retire, or that's where they send the broke dicks. It's where they send people that are getting ready to get out. So it's like I'm having to, train a lot of these Marines that are also kind of in the same boat. But I was at the time perfectly good to go and healthy and physically fit and able to freaking get shit done. But it was even hard trying to motivate my Marines to keep going and doing that stuff too, because it took a toll on them as well. And for me, being the staff, their staff NCO for it, it's like I had to be their pillar of strength just as much as me being a pillar of strength for somebody as I'm handing them the flag, because that whole presentation of giving the flag to the family, that is their everlasting impression of the United States Marine Corps right there, about their loved one. So, I took it with, all the pride I had, and, making sure nothing ever got messed up, because our mission was to provide a flawless funeral honors, period.
Right.
And, that was stressful enough. And then, like, when you got the active duty ones, where you actually had the media coverage, being on the news and everything else, it was a lot of stress. But one of the highlights of actually doing that detail in my last year, when they were filming Top Gun Maverick, kind of going back to full circle, those Marines in that funeral scene for Iceman are my Marines. I was there.
Shit. Wow.
I was there during that film, or the filming of that scene.
Wow. That's
They
cool.
the Marine media liaison reached out to me in my detail to provide the funeral honors for that movie, which, this is Hollywood. If it was real, it would have been the Navy doing, because Kazansky was freaking Navy, Iceman was Navy. But they were like, "Hey, the Navy got so much attention on the first film, we want to, pay homage to the Marines." And the command caller, Staff Sergeant Cruz, she was selected to give the command calls because it was also 100 years of the female Marine. So, it was those little nuances and little Easter eggs, that they put in that movie for those reasons. But basically 12 hours of filming for 1 minute of film. Definitely got definitely got to see a little bit of like how much shit actually goes into filming a scene. Got to meet Tom Cruise. Val Kilmer scared the shit out of me because I didn't realize, like, not during that time, not a lot of people knew about his throat cancer.
Right.
So like when he bumped into me, he's like, "Oh, sorry." I was like, "What the hell, Val Kilmer? You okay?" But
You weren't expecting that, yeah.
no, but yeah, man.
Wow.
Been through a lot.
Yeah, no kidding, man. So what was the total amount of years that you ended up doing?
10 years even. August 3rd, 2009 to August 3rd, 2019.
And you were just ready to get out at that point in time?
Well, at that point in time, dude, after doing the funeral details so long, that's actually when my drinking started. And literally my mental and physical health has started taking a downward spiral. And essentially, I was given a choice, especially when I even started having back issues too, because I was going through chiropractic and stuff like that. They were telling me that, you got some issues. You need to go get an MRI and X-rays done. I was just at the point where I knew if I was going to continue, I would either end up, being medically retired, which I didn't want to go out that way. I wanted to go out on my own terms, and uh, as a leader, being a staff NCO, and I know you probably seen it before, where you got people that stayed in too long past their prime. That's just like, dude, you shouldn't still be doing this shit. Maybe it's an attitude issue. Maybe it's physically you just can't keep up with the Marines anymore. It's like, and I was hitting all those wickets, and I didn't want to continue on when I knew that I already gave so much myself, and I wanted to say what little I had left for my wife and kids. So, at the end of the day, when people ask me why I got out, it's mainly due to me giving all that I had to give. And 10 years is more than most already. I mean, that's the thing too. It's like people think, oh, 20 years, that ain't shit. It's like 20 years of doing that kind of shit on your body and mind. There's a reason why they fucking retire your ass. It is a lot. And I don't give a shit what MOS you fucking have.
That's why a lot of fools don't make it past 4 years, bro. I mean, it's enduring a lot of stuff. I mean, and it's constant, like you say. There's no stopping when you're in the Marine Corps. I can't really speak for other branches, but I do know in the Marine Corps, it's not really built for families, right? I mean, it's
not.
You can have families, but at the end of the day, they can care less. If you got to deploy, you got to deploy. Even if the baby's getting ready to be born, they don't really give a shit. They'll make you leave on the day your baby's being born. I mean, but yeah, a lot of people don't understand. It's a motherfucking huge commitment, and it takes a toll, not just physically, mentally, the whole caboodle. I can attest. For 4 years, it was a lot.
Yeah, and again, do I wish I could have probably got out as a gunnery sergeant? Maybe, but honestly, at that point, your rank on the outside, and especially in the civilian world, and now we'll start talking about transitioning and stuff.
Yeah,
like,
before we get into that, let's take a quick break, real quick. We'll give this right here is a show I'm producing. It's called Sit Call with Doc. Give them a check out. They're already going to be on season 2 by the time this airs, but let's give Sit Call with Doc a little love.
Welcome to Sit Call with Doc. a podcast dedicated to eradicating veteran suicide. With 22 veterans lost every day, we believe that's 22 too many. Join us as we bring you inspiring stories, heartfelt conversations, and a community that cares. Because no matter what, you are not alone. We were there for you then, and we're here for you now. Follow, like, and share our mission. Together we can make a difference. Inspiring hope, saving lives.
All right, brother. So now we'll kind of talk about when you were getting out, kind of how that treated you, what that looked like for you. If it, was it easy? Was it hard? Go ahead, let us know.
Honestly, and I think this goes for anybody that served any amount of time. I I think it's probably harder the longer that you served than it is
Sure.
if you only do 4 years.
Yep.
Me,
Facts.
it was the easiest way to explain it to somebody, like what it's like getting out of the military. It's a tremendous feeling of loss on multiple levels. It's loss of a job, loss of friends who then became your family, brothers and sisters that aren't related, um, a loss of a sense of purpose, a loss of, a position of leadership and influence, and, overall affecting your company, your platoons, mission accomplishment, a sense of completing something. And it's a, you're having to basically start all over. And one of the biggest complaints that I have, and I know a lot of veterans have it too, is they spend 13 weeks or 12 weeks training you to be a Marine, not in, and also additional training, whether it's SOI or MCT, and then your MOS school, and then you're in the fleet. But they only give you 1 week to, to figure out, all your VA stuff, all your benefits that you're entitled to, how to write a resume, how to prep for an interview. It's like we spend so much time on training people to be a Marine and do their job, but so little effort on transitioning out. And I think that's where one of our biggest problems are, because I think, and this goes across to all the branches too. It's like our priorities aren't necessarily lined up, because at the end of the day, everybody has an expiration date on their time in service. You can't stop time. It's like, one day you're going to take off the uniform one last time. We need to really start emphasizing, maybe make TAPS or TRS, the Transitional Readiness Seminar, or, any kind of, programs that, for the other branches, what they're called. Those, I believe, need to be longer, maybe at least 2 weeks, maybe even a month. It's like, if your command can't make it, a month without you, I mean, obviously they can send you, UDP TAD someplace for 30 days to help somebody else's command in their mission to get shit done. Why can't we do the same
Facts.
thing? Why can't we do the same thing when it comes to getting them ready to be a civilian again? And I think honestly it's because of that, because TRS is such a shotgun blast of information. You're, people that go through it are just like, fuck, I got to bring a little hand recorder so I can hear what this guy's saying, or I got to take a million fucking notes. Like, in my opinion, it shouldn't be like that. I think it should be a time where let's turn down the volume, let's lower the heart rate, and let's look at the picture of like, okay, this is you now, this is where you're going. Let's take we're taught in training all the time, crawl, walk, run. But I feel like TRS or the transitional shit, it's running the whole time. It's like, the same principles aren't applying, which I think is completely wrong. And
I
I
also think that does play a part into having a little bit of a hard time with separating as well, right? Because they make you feel so needed, or while you're serving, But the moment you're telling them you're going to check out, boy, dude, I tell you what, you become that motherfucker that's checking out now, right? And everybody is somewhat jealous of you because you're getting out, or they don't. You're just you don't serve a purpose anymore for them, right? And
yeah.
that's the hard
It's
part, I think, is when you walk away, you're like fucking, you don't feel like gosh damn, bro, like I fucking, motherfuckers, I felt like I was one, and now you don't want me no more. Like it's hard to, I guess, explain.
No, I mean you're absolutely right. I mean, especially, I mean, I don't want to say your commander, what unit you're with, you know, will all act the same. I mean, some like
Right,
H and
everybody's
HS,
different, sure.
yeah. So like H&HS, it's already a twilight unit. So honestly, if I couldn't have picked a better unit to
To
get
kind of
out,
separate, right? Yeah,
to separate out of, because everybody's that
in the
goes
same
there essentially.
position, and yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, so it worked out, and that was actually part of my like, going away speech, because doing those funeral details, it's not my shadow box; it's in a separate awards container. They gave me a Navy com, for doing that detail for 3 years, and everything I did there. Which, uh, the chest candy is nice, but let's be real. Your ribbons and medals don't help you get a job on the outside. They don't. They don't.
yeah, facts there, bro.
You know,
It's
especially.
crazy, and that's the other freaking hard part, right, bro? Here you are, you reach Sergeant Staff NCO, you're leader of all these people. You go out into the civilian world, dude, and sometimes you're gonna, oh, that's all fine and dandy, but you're a trainee now, and
Yeah.
that's a little bit of a hard pill to swallow for, I think, some military members as well, because especially the people that spent over 4 years in there and they got out as a leadership position, they go back into these other jobs and they don't give a shit no more. They're like, bro, you haven't, who the hell are you?
Yeah.
Staff smash, give your ass to
Yeah.
work,
Yeah. And another thing too, it's being a military veteran, especially being a Marine. It's kind of a double-edged sword when it comes to applying for jobs, because there are the negative stereotypes out there. Talking about Full Metal Jacket, for a lot of civilians, like, or watching movies like Jarhead and Generation Kill and stuff like that. You know, they always focus on the negative of like, oh, these guys are animals or they're assholes. Like, I don't want this guy fucking working for me,
barbaric.
or
Yeah.
barbaric. They focus on that a lot. And another thing too, I did 10 years, and I was fortunate enough when I got out to land a role with the transportation company as a manager in training, and making it to actually be a GM. um, but it's also 10 years of work habits that don't necessarily mix in well with the civilian way of doing things. So, honestly, a lot of these guys that retire, do 20 plus years, they end up just going right back into a government job, because it's kind of the same mentality. But a lot of these civilian employers, it's like, they it's kind of a double take. They're just like, well, I don't know if you're going to fit in well here, or hey, we'll put you here, but we don't want to put you here because you might be a little too, you know too hard on the guys or whatever. Like, they think every Marine's a drill instructor, and it's like, no, we're fucking human beings, and we can shut that shit off or turn it on if necessary, but it's not going to be at that same level.
We've been taught to adapt and overcome, right, bro? So we can adapt to
Exactly.
most of our environments. Just give us that chance. I mean, now, don't get me wrong. There's some of us out there, like my buddy. I love my buddy, and I got this fool. Like, when I got out, I got a job in the aerospace industry, and then he ended up getting out 6 months after me. I got him a job. He came in full swing Marine, and I was like, dog, this, like, that kind of stuff here don't fly, bro. Like,
Turn it down.
Turn down the volume. Fucking dude. They don't act the same around here, brother. You know what I mean? And sure as shit, he was that fucking salmon swimming upstream, and they sure as shit shipped him off. Fucking, he ended up leaving the company because I was like, yeah, bro, you got to kind of play their games. I know we're not used to it and we don't like it, but they're the fucking like the owners of the game. Like they're the puppeteers, and we're just sitting here, fucking. That's why you got to go be the CEO, bro.
Well, and see, that's the thing too. It's like, a lot of Marines, a lot of my buddies, either end up having a problem with authority after they get out because they've been told what to do, for the last 4 to 10 to 20 years. So, you get that sense of entitlement of like, no, I did my time as a fucking boot private. It's like, nah, I'm not going to fucking sweep floors. I already did that shit. But that's a negative attitude to have about it because, hey, yes, you are a veteran. Yes, you did this, but you are now here. If you don't want to be here or if you don't want to do the grunt shit, fucking you don't have to be. And that's another thing too. It's like we actually have the freedom to say, fuck you, I quit and go find something else versus, hey, you signed the motherfucking contract, you're stuck here for 4 years or whatever time that you're with that unit. But
we get to be loyal though because of that though. I mean, there's a lot of us that stay in these jobs that we hate or something because or they don't, or people are afraid to go get a promotion somewhere else or leave the job because we got so loyal to certain things and we got locked in, and we couldn't leave. There was no quitting, or fucking, I don't feel like it today.
Yeah.
Well, if you don't feel like it today, it's going to be a big problem for you afterwards.
Oh, yeah. But yeah, I mean, as far as getting back to the transitioning and stuff, it is definitely, I think, something that never quite ends. I don't think the transition ever fully ends. I think that it gets a little bit easier as time goes on. But, you got to think about it. We're a jigsaw piece that got molded and shaped in our time in the service, now thrown out into the world of other jigsaw pieces, but our edges and shape isn't always going to fit just right. So we can always sand it down to get it to fit a little bit better, but I think it's always going to be a little different from everybody else, as it should be, because we were molded to be different. We were molded to stand out. And it's all about how you want to stand out, whether it's in a positive or a negative way, which, me getting on social media with, being on TikTok and sharing my story, that one of the things that always kind of bothered me about the app is you got these guys that have this persona or they wear a mask and, it's more or less bullshitting just to get likes and, views and stuff like that. If anything, I originally went on there to share my woodworking because, to help with my transition, I need to find something that would help me battle my demons. And drinking wasn't going to be the best hobby to have. Unfortunately, a lot of us brothers and sisters go through after we get out. It's one of the self-medications that only does more harm in the long run. So believe it or not, my wife took me to fucking Hobby Lobby. She's like, "You need a hobby. We're going to Hobby Lobby. Just how much more cliche can you fucking get?" So we go to Hobby Lobby. I buy myself a little hand Dremel. I pick up a little, 4x6 little brick of wood, and I was just playing with it. And I ended up making like a little wooden dagger out of it, and I gave it to my son. And just like, maybe I should, look into making other things. And I started making plaques and flags, and I was like, I'm going to start. I want to share this because I, just want to see if anybody, is doing similar stuff like this as an outlet to essentially do something to ease their anxiety, to ease their depression. Because a perfect analogy that I came up with, you're in the Marine Corps and then the next day you're out. It's kind of like being, a train rolling across the tracks with the brakes on. It's like you're so go, 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 go. now the brakes are on, but guess what? All that, momentum still freaking pushing across the, screeching across the tracks. And it can be hard for us to, kind of figure out, well, fuck, should we let off the gas? Should we, let off the brakes? Or, it's hard for us to, you know, get used to this new world. And another analogy that I think of is like when you're in the military, it's kind of like being in the Matrix. It's the same shit every day. And now we're unplugged and now we're out here in the real world. It can be scary. It can be weird. And sometimes it's like, fuck, just put me back in. Shit, life was easier and more simpler then. But I think, with transitioning and what's really helped me was finding TikTok or finding social media and sharing my story and making connections, meeting people like you. If it wasn't for TikTok, we would have probably never met and we probably would have never be having this conversation, which, yeah, there's a lot of BS going on right now about what they want to ban the app and all that. But honestly, I think it's just because of the power of TikTok and the influence and the information that's actually seen by others. It's a very powerful tool, and just like any tool, it can be used for good or evil. And
Yeah.
I really hope it doesn't go away. But it's helped me connect with so many veterans and so many people and networking, and that's what it is. It's a networking tool. You can do your own little shows and stuff like that, but it's also more importantly an outlet for us to be able to share our experiences and let other people know that might be going through something similar, that you're not alone. And a lot of times, I'm not an advocate for mental health or anything like that. I'm not associated with anything, but if there's anything I try to be on there is I try to be a friendly ear, because sometimes the people that are going through shit, they don't need the answers. They just need somebody that's willing to listen to them.
Right. Yep. And a lot of them are just constantly always being told how to live their life or be told what to do or something. So sometimes it's nice to have that outlet of where they can actually speak or not be held down. But yeah, bro, I mean, TikTok has opened up that connection, and I don't know how many veterans and brothers and sisters I've come in contact with because of TikTok. And I mean, geez, I don't know how many of people I've had on my show from TikTok. But it's, it, like you said, it could be used for good or bad. But the great thing about it is it gives us that opportunity to connect with each other, bring you into each other's homes, and like see how other people live, and be like, damn, bro, I was feeling like I was the only person that ever fucking did that, or I'm the only person going through this, and then you start to see how many people are kind of building their tribes or their communities on TikTok, and they start having their own meetings. I mean, there's people that have a live every day at a certain time, and guess what? So many people get in there and get involved. I seen a veteran one talking about, I know this is going to be, everybody's like, what? I do like to look at TikTok while I take a shit, right? So I happen to be on there, and these guys are all on live, and they're veterans, and they're all fucking talking about, and it's like 4 in the fucking morning, for me, they're probably a couple hours ahead of me, and I'm just sitting there like taking a shit, and I'm just like, how fucking cool, man. These are all veterans just sitting in a chat room, and they do it every fucking morning, because every morning I've ever got it up to take a shit, and I get on there they are. I was like, one time they wanted to bring me on. I was just like, oh, fuck, man, I have no shirt on. I'm on the shitter. Nah, I'm good.
Well, that's what's great. You can always have your camera off.
That's true. I did, but they didn't want to hear the doop. You know what I mean? Like, but no, these are tools though that are really free for a lot of people to use, that keep people alive, man, and people feel like they have a purpose, or they have a people that actually give a shit about them, and they don't got to leave the comforts of their homes. That's one thing about veterans too, bro, is a lot of us don't want to fucking go nowhere. A lot of us don't really like to leave our homes or leave our places. We got places we like to be, or if we do, it's always like, well, that's fine, but we're leaving in 2 to 3 hours. I'm out. Like, I always have a time limit wherever I go usually. But so having these type of things though, it brings it into their homes and the comforts of their own home. And now people are having conversations that maybe they wouldn't be having, if they didn't have access to this type of stuff. So it'd be foolish of us as a generation not to take advantage of it, but use it for a good thing so we can give the next generation another great thing to have, and not be so fucked up with all this stuff. Because we've been able to be more transparent and show them, hey guys, it's okay to go through things. Let's work through them. Like let's acknowledge that we're going through something so we can get through it and get done with it. But
Yeah, and
no,
go ahead.
go ahead. Nope.
No, I was just going to add on to that. Yeah, it's especially being out of the military active duty, losing our camaraderie, that esprit de corps, that connection. We lose that as soon as we get out. But this app, it's funny that you say that, about it being people finding their tribe. We as a society, or as a as a human being, we're naturally tribal in nature. If you really think about it, it's like we have our own little cliques, our own little wolf packs, so to speak. It's like, and being a service member, we all have that similar common connection with one another. And when we get out, it's hard because, I mean, Marines, we're going to be having our oorah stickers and stuff like that. So we kind of stand out already with all our pride. So it's like, oh shit, what's up? Semper Fi, we made that connection right then and there. But, it's hard to, unless the guy's got tattoos or something that says he was, affiliated with the military, and a lot of veterans, they kind of, live incognito, and they don't want that extra attention because maybe their time in the service wasn't the greatest, and maybe they lost some, battle buddies, and just reliving that stuff or remembering, those experiences might be too much for them, and they just want to move on with their lives. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's really
Right.
not.
Nope.
But I will say that there's veterans that are seeking that sense of community again. They just don't know how to go about it or don't know where to look, and that's why, TikTok has just been amazing. It's, other than, you got your Facebook and your Instagram pages for veteran groups, stuff like that. But what I love about TikTok is like you're not having to like sit there and read a post about, what this person's saying. You can see it in real time what they're telling you. And
Yeah.
it makes it more of a a human experience rather than just sitting there reading what somebody wrote down. And maybe that's just us as a society is moving more towards video and audio if I can talk, video audio experiences versus actually reading it.
Yeah.
And TikTok has just been a great networking tool, and meeting other veterans, going through a lot of different stuff. And a lot of things that I try to do, and I'm not a VSO or associated with the VA in any way, but I've been through the process. I'm 100% service connected PNC,
Mm-hmm.
largely due to my experiences. Uh, you know, and I want to talk to you and everybody that might see this about PTSD. PTSD does not need to be a combat specific related incident. It does not. It is a traumatic experience, period.
Right.
And, for me, I got a lot of mine from doing that funeral detail for 3 years because, you know, the way my therapist explained it to me is that what I had to do, and I'm a naturally an empathetic person, so I feel the feelings of
You take
others.
on stuff. Yep.
So, when they're going through that kind of grief, it's hard for me not to feel it too.
Right.
And, it's maybe it's one of my personal flaws, or maybe it's one of my greatest strengths, because, it helps me read a room a little bit better, especially, if I'm in a unfamiliar setting. But, you know, my therapist told me, it's like, you got full servings daily of what most people get tastes of in their lives.
Yeah. That's
Something,
facts.
something to think
Because we
about
don't
right
go to a
there.
lot of funerals. The normal human being doesn't attend a lot of funerals, and
No,
I don't think I've ever been to a funeral where it wasn't super somber for me.
yeah,
So I could only imagine how hard that had to be. And you're 100% right, bro. Like, PTSD isn't limited to combat. It's 100% any traumatic experiences, or even just being around something long enough can really have an adverse effect on you. And sometimes we don't even know it, right? We're just going through it, until later on you remove yourself from it and you're like, holy shit, I have had major issues. I've been so knee deep in the shit, I don't even realize it,
yeah,
And another thing with
yeah,
us veterans is we're used to being in the suck together. And
yep,
one thing that always helps us get through it is the motherfucker right here or right there, because they're going through the exact same shit. I don't got time to feel sorry for my fucking self. This motherfucker's dying too, you know? But when we go home, we don't got that no more. We're in it by ourselves or something. We're in some fucking marriage battle, finance battle, just uh, trying to make it work battle. Fucking, there's constantly a battle, fighting the VA, fighting. It just never stops. But now you don't have this guy to the left or the right of you no more, and you feel like you're all fucking alone. But
yeah,
these type of things, once again, show motherfuckers you're not alone, man. You're not alone. You may be in your garage by yourself, but listen, there's a whole bunch of motherfuckers going through the same path you are, or feeling the same way you are. You know what I mean? But we got to learn to, just like when we're fucking in there together, we got to pull through it and get through and attack that mission. Same thing when we're out, bro. We got to pull together and say, fucking, we need to finish this together. You
yep,
motherfucker don't get to leave this bitch before me. I gotta live with these fuckers in my head. You do too, you son of a bitch. You know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
and we need all of you, because you make it better for us. Fucking it just makes it better. And hearing the stories, like, that motherfucker is going through a little bit more than me right now. You know what I mean? But thank God someone else got
Yeah,
some shit going on. But like I said, it's important for us all to lean on each other and not give up each other just because we're not necessarily in uniform anymore. We're just serving at a different faucet, in my opinion, and we can't give up on each other now. Like, we fucking all made it this gosh damn far. We cannot give each other, and we owe it to the next generation to be some badass motherfuckers. So we got to give them the best versions of ourselves. And however we got to get there, man, let's help each other get to our best versions. Let's bring you, let's start cheering each other on. When you see a brother or sister doing something good, say, hey, you're doing a badass job, bro. Love you, man. Keep doing what you're doing. It doesn't hurt for us to tell each other we're doing a great job. And you're doing a great job out there, bro. And like I said before we got on this, I appreciate your ability to be transparent with what you're going through and share and bring people into your mental health when you're in your down, dude. You're still fucking able to talk about it, which a lot of people won't and don't do. But you know what,
yeah,
bro? By just doing that, fucking, you don't even know. You're touching someone out there who's going through it, and it's just like, man, we can do this, right? And you've pulled through it, and here you are today, bro. You still got a smile on your face. you're still rocking and you're still doing great things and you're still gonna do fucking great things. You know what I mean? When we're just because we're 100% fucking disabled, that doesn't mean we can't do nothing. You know what I mean? It's just that hey, we're limited at what we're able to do, but you could still do great things, and that's I do appreciate you, bro. Like I do. You're doing some great things, even if you don't feel like it. Just know you are, and keep doing what you're doing, and keep pushing, brother. But dude, we spent already a good hour and a half. Sure, we
Yeah.
could probably do a 4-hour show on this easy. But dude, I really appreciate you coming on and taking the time to talk about all the things that we've talked about. Is there any last things you would want to talk about that we didn't cover, or anything you would like to say before we head out?
Just to close, brother. If anything, I love that you're doing this, and you know, it's therapeutic, for veterans to actually just come on here and tell their story, and maybe it's not always fun and jokes. For me, I've been through quite a bit in my short 34 years on this earth. Um, but at the same time, you're doing something good on here, and you're being an outlet and a circuit board for veterans to connect into, and to share. It's you know this is my first ever podcast, so this is a little bit different than me going live on TikTok, but kind of going back to you know this whole experience is very therapeutic, and I'm honored that you invited me on here, and I'm more than willing to come on again, and we can talk about some other subjects, especially when it comes to VA ratings and the the society's look on it and stuff like that. I mean, we could talk about the VA for hours, I'm sure, as far as the good, bad, and the ugly. If anything, if you wanted to invite me on next time, that'd be probably one of the things I'd like to talk with you more about.
That's perfect, actually. So I'm doing a new segment. It's a perfect time to plug it. It's called Coffee Talk with Brian, and so it's an opportunity where I kind of just talk to the listeners about. I've been doing this. You're my 108th interview, so I've had quite a few guests on, and I've learned a lot through these 108 interviews. I've heard a lot. I've witnessed a lot. So it's like I want to start talking about all those type of issues and start bringing them out so we can start dissecting them a little bit more. Not only just talking about the problems, but maybe we can start kind of getting some solutions added to these things as well. Or if nothing else, giving motherfuckers a toolbox to pull from at any moment in time, bro. You know what I mean? So 100% when we get out of here, we'll talk about you coming on the next coffee talk and pulling up some coffee and chilling and just having a conversation about the VA. I think that would be a good, perfect coffee talk. But yeah, man,
Absolutely, brother.
I really once again I thank you, bro. Brandon, you're doing amazing things. I thank you so much for your service. Thank you for being a fucking badass Marine. And dude, keep being a leader. You can show your community what a fucking how badass it is when people come together without religion, without politics, without this or that and the other, how much shit we can get done together. We as veterans can emulate to the rest of the world what it looks like to fucking be a cohesive unit. You know what I mean? And you keep being that, bro. You keep being a voice for us veterans, the guys out there that don't want to come out and talk. You keep being that transparent person because you're working on yourself at the same time by doing that, by being transparent. That's the fucking fastest way for someone to heal, bro, is being real with the things that they're facing. So you keep doing you, brother, and we'll be seeing you for sure again. And just hang out in the back there real quick, and I'll be back there, eat some crayons. And thanks again, brother.
Thank you.
All right, friends and fam. Well, that wraps up another great one. And let me tell you off, we're off to a great start. That's my third interview for season 3, and we've already had two Marines on. So yeah, we're and it's not done that way. I promise you guys. It just happens to be that way. And you know what? Us Marines, we can talk. So you can see every episode I think I have with a Marine, we could definitely put in some hours. But hey, I hope you guys are having an amazing day. You know how we say on the show, don't let the day kick your ass. Make sure you're out there kicking it. Until next time, we'll see you guys.
Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe.